I'm in seat 3, C, business class. One row back from first class. The seat in front of me is upright. The screen's still playing the safety video. The lighting is steady. No one's talking loud. The cabin's running like clockwork. Seat 2A is up ahead. A young black kid, maybe 20, is already in his seat. Plain, dark hoodie, big, expensive-looking headphones. An old canvas backpack is tucked under the ottoman. He leans down, fiddles with a zipper, then rests his hands on his lap. Doesn't look around, not trying to make eye contact. The flight attendant, Linda Harper, stops in the aisle. She doesn't look at any other seats. Her eyes land right on seat 2A. She asks for his boarding pass. He holds it out with 2 fingers. Are you sure you're in the right cabin? I'm in seat 2A. Linda Harper holds the pass longer than she needs to. She turns it over, holds it up to the reading light, checks the front, checks the back. No one else is getting this treatment. She hands the pass back, tells him to put his backpack upright, pressed tight under the ottoman. Her voice is even, just loud enough to hear. It gets crowded in first class during boarding. I glance over at seat 2C. The handbag there is sitting sideways, sticking out a little into the aisle. She doesn't say a word to them. Linda Harper bends down, pulls a sanitizing wipe from her apron, wipes the armrest of seat 2A, wipes the tray table. A quick wipe. Doesn't wipe the seat next to it. Doesn't wipe the one behind it. She walks away. The cabin doesn't miss a beat. Wine keeps getting poured. Someone in the front row folds their newspaper. No one reacts. No one asks a thing. The young man pulls one side of his headphones down, watches Linda Harper turn into the galley. Then he puts it back on, looks down at his phone. His thumb taps out a few lines. The screen goes dark. He places the phone face down on the small table. A few minutes later, Linda Harper comes back. This time she's standing in the galley, talking quietly to a man in a plain polo shirt. No logo. No name tag. He doesn't have the look of a crew member. Broad shoulders, a hard jaw, hands resting near his hips. That's Jason Miller, a federal air marshal. Linda Harper tilts her head towards seat 2A. He doesn't look right. What's not right about him? He's not interacting. Texting constantly. Jason Miller looks over at seat 2A. He's in no hurry. Stands there long enough to get a good look. Doesn't take notes. Doesn't ask anyone else. The kid in 2A doesn't notice. He's already switched to airplane mode, leaning back in his seat, eyes closed. His backpack is still upright under the ottoman, just like she told him. Jason Miller steps into the aisle. Doesn't run. Doesn't draw attention. He stops right next to seat 2A, taps him lightly on the shoulder. Sir, I'm going to need you to stand up. The young man opens his eyes, takes off one headphone, looks up. Is there a problem? Come with me. Off the plane. The first-class cabin goes quiet. The person in 2C lowers their newspaper. The passenger in 1A leans into the aisle. The young man stands up. Slowly, he asks again, "What did I do wrong?" Jason Miller doesn't answer the question. He just points toward the aisle. "Leave your personal items." His headphones fall to the floor as he turns. No one picks them up. The backpack is still under the ottoman. Linda Harper is standing in the galley, arms crossed over her chest. She's looking away, not directly at him. A passenger raises their phone. Jason Miller puts a hand up to block the lens. "Please." No recording. The phone is lowered. The young man steps into the aisle. Doesn't resist. Doesn't look back. He walks past me. I get a clear look at his face. No clear expression. Eyes straight ahead. Jaw clenched slightly. Arms hanging at his sides. People in business class make way. A few people pull their legs in tight to their seats. No one says a word. He's led through economy. Out the front door, and into the jet bridge. The plane door is still open. No announcement from the cockpit. A moment later, the door closes. The engines haven't started. The screen in front of me goes to a standby screen. In the corner, a line of text says boarding is temporarily on hold. Linda Harper came back into the cabin. She adjusted a tablecloth, poured more water. The service rhythm continued. Seat 2A was empty. The armrest was dry. No one mentioned it. I was still in seat 3C, looking down the aisle. Things in the cabin went on. No one was clearly in the wrong. I thought maybe they knew something I didn't. The young man was led off the plane. The door closed behind him. The cabin was quiet. No announcement. No explanation. I was still in seat 3C. The screen in front of me stayed on the standby page. The light didn't change. The flight attendants walked around like normal. The service rhythm continued. Seat 2A was empty. The backpack was still under the ottoman. The headphones were on the floor, next to the leg of the seat. No one touched them. A little later, I saw Jason Miller come back into the cabin. He went straight to the galley. Linda Harper was standing there. The two of them spoke briefly. No one raised their voice. He's been taken off. Did he take his stuff? Left it all? Linda Harper nodded. She didn't look towards seat 2A. I watched. No one in first class asked about it. One person asked for more water. Another adjusted their blanket. No one mentioned the young man who'd just been taken away. A few minutes went by. The overhead screen changed to a notice that boarding was on hold. No reason given. No estimated time. A passenger in the front row quietly asked a flight attendant about the delay. The answer was short. Generic. No details. It's being handled. I looked at my watch. Time was moving slowly. No one got up. No one made a call. Phones were still in airplane mode. Up front, Linda Harper went back to seat 2A. She bent down, picked the headphones up off the floor, set them on the small table. She didn't look around. She didn't call anyone. Jason Miller appeared in the aisle again. This time he didn't stop at seat 2A. He went straight to the front. Into the cockpit. The door closed. A moment later, he came back out, phone in his hand. He was talking very quietly. I couldn't hear, but I saw his expression change. Jaw tight, shoulders tense. He stopped at the galley. Linda Harper was already there. Got a call. From who? The family. Linda Harper didn't say anything else. She turned away. The cabin was still quiet, but the air was different. No sound of trays clinking. No quiet laughter. People were looking at their screens more. 10 minutes later, the PA system came on. The captain's voice was steady. The flight is currently on hold due to a passenger list discrepancy. We'll have an update for you shortly. No one asked any more questions. I looked out the window. The jet bridge was still connected. The ground crew was standing still. No baggage carts. No new movement. Jason Miller came back into the business cabin. He was walking slower. He glanced at the seats. Didn't stop. A young flight attendant standing near me whispered to a colleague. It was very brief. Not over yet. The colleague didn't answer. A few minutes later, I saw Linda Harper on her phone. She spoke briefly. She wasn't walking. She was standing still. Yes. Understood. She hung up. Looked over at Jason Miller. The two of them didn't say anything else. The screen in front of me changed again. New text appeared. All takeoff procedures suspended. No estimated time. A passenger behind me sighed heavily. Someone else adjusted their seat. No one stood up. I saw someone in seat 2C look at the empty seat. 2A. Then they looked down at their own hands. Didn't say a word. About 15 minutes later, the cockpit door opened. Jason Miller came out. This time, he walked straight to the front door. He didn't look back. A member of the ground crew came into the cabin, spoke quietly with the captain. They had a quick exchange. The crew member left. The PA came on again. The captain's voice was lower this time. This flight is being affected by an operational decision from a higher authority. Please remain seated. No one clapped. No one reacted. Linda Harper stood in the galley. Her hands were in front of her, not crossed, not moving. Another flight attendant walked past seat 2A. Stopped. Looked at the headphones on the table. Didn't touch them. Through the window. I saw the gate monitor. The text was bigger. Entire fleet grounded. Not just this flight. A quiet stir went through the cabin. No loud noises. No one stood up. But eyes started to shift. A lot of people were looking outside. A passenger asked quietly. All of them. The answer came back quick and short. Yes. I sat still in seat 3C, looking at the empty seat 2A, at the headphones, just sitting there, at the screen, stuck on the standby page. The young man wasn't here, but everything started grinding to a halt right where he'd just been. The cabin door was still closed. Everyone was still in their seats. No new announcements. I looked at my watch. Time was passing. But nobody got up. About 10 minutes later, the forward door opened. A man in a suit came on board with a ground agent. He didn't need an introduction. The way the flight attendants stepped aside said it all. It was Michael Reynolds. He didn't look around the cabin. He went straight to the front. Linda Harper was standing there. Jason Miller was by the wall. The exchange was fast. Short. Where is he? Security office by the gate. Go now. Michael Reynolds turned and left the cabin. No one stopped him. No one asked anything. A few minutes later, the PA system came on. The captain's voice was steady. Not raised. This flight is ceasing all procedures. Passengers, please remain in your seats. No one had a big reaction, but the mood shifted. People stopped looking at their screens and started looking at each other. Through the window, I saw ground staff moving faster. Baggage carts appeared. A group of people was standing near the gate. The cabin door opened again. Daniel Brooks stepped on. He didn't have any security with him. His suit was sharp. His eyes didn't search for anyone in the cabin. He walked straight back out. The cabin went completely silent. No one said it, but everyone understood. The young man in seat 2A was not a regular passenger. About 5 minutes later, the door opened again. Evan Brooks came on with Daniel Brooks and Michael Reynolds. Evan walked slowly. He didn't look around. Same hoodie as before. Nothing in his hands. Daniel Brooks put a hand on his son's shoulder, said something very quietly. Evan nodded. Michael Reynolds turned to Linda Harper. His voice wasn't loud, but it was clear. You're relieved of duty. Immediately, Linda Harper stood there for a beat. Then she nodded, said nothing. She took her employee ID from her jacket pocket, placed it on the counter in front of her, and left the cabin. 2 airport security officers were waiting just outside the door. They followed her out. Jason Miller was standing against the wall. The phone in his hand vibrated. He answered it. His expression changed fast. Yes. Understood. He hung up, took off his work ID, handed it to the airport security officer standing behind him. He was told to leave the cabin immediately. No one clapped. No one laughed. Michael Reynolds turned back to the cabin. His voice was level. This flight will not be continuing. All passengers will deplane as instructed. A few sighs. No yelling. No arguments. Evan Brooks leaned down at seat 2A, picked up the headphones, pulled his backpack out from the ottoman. Daniel Brooks stood beside him. Didn't rush him. Didn't say anything else. The father and son were the first to leave the cabin. I stayed in my seat, watched them go. As they passed, Evan looked at the floor, didn't look at anyone, didn't react. We got off the plane, row by row. No pushing. No one asked why. At the gate area, the big screen had changed. The text announced the grounding of the airline's entire fleet. Effective immediately. No details. No timeline for restoration. Phones started getting service. Messages poured in. The news was on the small screens. The airline's operations were temporarily suspended system-wide. I overheard a ground agent telling a co-worker that the fleet lease agreement with Aurelius Global Aviation had been suspended, pending a safety and service review. Michael Reynolds was talking to a group of men in suits. Every face was tense. Daniel Brooks stood further away. With Evan. Someone brought a bottle of water over. Evan took it. Drank. A small sip. No one took pictures. No one was filming. A few days later, the full story came out. The airline took a massive hit. Lots of international flights were cancelled. The stock price plummeted in the first session after the incident. The fleet leasing contract with Aurelius Global Aviation was re-signed with a new oversight clause, applying to all operations and service personnel. Linda Harper was permanently terminated. Jason Miller was suspended and placed under internal investigation. Evan Brooks still flew to Europe, but on a different flight. No special privileges, no priority, just another passenger. I never saw them again. But from that day on, every time I get on a plane, I notice the smallest details. The way a boarding pass is held, the way people look at a shirt, the way a request is made, and the way it's carried out. I don't think this story is just about power. I think it's about how a system only changes when it runs into the right person, in the right position. If Evan Brooks didn't have a father like Daniel Brooks, what would have happened next? Do you think grounding the entire fleet was going too far? Or was it the only way to force everyone to take a hard look at things? If you were on that flight, what would you have done? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you want to hear more stories like this, subscribe to Black CEO Tales.